Anyways,
All right, let's do this. Welcome to the Elk Season Podcast, Season 2, Episode 7.
That's right.
We are 180 days out from archery elk season, 6 months.
6 months.
We
man.
are halfway there. Elk season, as soon as this sentence is over, elk season is closer in front of us than it is further behind us.
With every sentence, I'm that much closer to elk season. It's really what you're saying.
And yeah, well, it is. And it's 180 days. By the way, we're the Chambers Brothers. My name's Harold.
I'm David.
And tonight on the Elk Season Podcast,
We're going to talk food.
yeah.
Probably a bit of an update on our journey of weight loss or fitness.
Yes,
or
indeed.
lack thereof in my case.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got progress, but the fitness side in terms of like exercise.
Okay.
But a couple of other things. CWD came back up on my
Yeah.
radar over the last
Yeah.
week, so just a little bit of an update. I didn't realize this was going on in Idaho, and I'll share that. Got an amazing dad joke about dentistry coming up.
Oh, good dad joke.
Yeah, something new. So our sponsors told us that we need to do a little bit more zaniness, have a little bit
Yeah.
more humor. The feedback that we get from the amazing commenters, from all of you who comment endlessly on our podcast
yeah.
posts.
The number one comment, the number one kind
You
of
could
comment.
be more dad
Right.
jokey. So,
Yeah.
we're going to try. We're going to do some different things. We're going to throw it into the mix.
I got to say, you have a mean red-green impression.
Anyway,
See, I just say the name and he goes right into character.
so
It's
there's
awesome.
over there. There's Heller. No, I screwed it up. I was trying to.
I just need to write you a script.
Right.
And just
So anyway, over there, that's Harold. And so, no, Harold. No, we don't do that. No.
There we go. We could do one of those. We could do
Yeah.
one of those sketches where you just narrate. It's black and white, and it's like time. It's like time lapse.
We need to do.
and then you just narrate it. So what you're gonna do is
No.
we're gonna take the ruler and try to cross a bridge.
You have 1 minute to get Harold to say this word.
Oh, that's right. The Possum Lodge word game.
Yeah, I love that.
That was. Oh my gosh, that's good stuff.
Yeah. So, where do we want
And
to?
so dad, and
Yes.
so dad. The Possum
Yeah.
Lodge word game is like the most dad thing ever. Yeah.
Remember, if the women don't find you handy, they should at least find you. Wait, I said that backwards.
Yeah.
But, well, we're all in this together. I'm pulling for you.
Remember, I'm pulling for you. We're on. Anyways, all right. So
Bow
that
your head
is-
for the man's prayer.
That is the red green. What a bunch of really, really great developed characters
Yeah.
for men and in the outdoors. and I love Canadian shows.
Yeah.
There's another Canadian show called the Trailer Park Boys.
Yeah.
I know I've talked to you about it. You probably haven't
I've
watched
watched
it.
the first few episodes, and I haven't been sucked in yet. But
It's hard. It's hard. Once
the episode I'm in, it's early because they have
Yeah.
how many seasons? And I don't
they
remember
have 14 or 15.
I don't remember the characters' names, but he's living in his car outside.
That's Ricky.
It's Ricky's living in
Yeah.
the car, and anyway, it's as far as
Ricky has been living in the car all 14 seasons.
yeah.
The same car. And Bubbles has been living in sheds his
Okay.
whole life. And Ricky or Julian always has a mixed drink.
Yeah, I know
Always.
that. But, yeah.
When he's fixing cars, when he's robbing banks, when he I mean, it's just, and they got a bunch of movies too. Anyways, it's a great shtick. I love the Trailer Park Boys, but also there's another really great Canadian show called Letterkenny. It's so I really, really like it. It's about Hicks. It's about Letterkenny, Ontario, Canada, and it's basically it's agriculture land. There's a bunch of small towns. There's not enough here to have big cities, but there's a whole bunch of small towns. And in every small town, there's little communities. And there's communities of, they're called skids, which are like the degenerates. They're the people that hang out in front of the Family Dollar and dance on cardboard.
Okay.
Right. And then there's the Hicks, and there's the meatheads and the pot smokers, and there's the hockey players, and there's the girls and the bar owner and the coach. The coach is another really great character. But for all their differences, because they live in a small community, they all have to work together.
Okay.
And it's really funny to see these two different, several different opposing ideas of people working together because, it's a small town. We got to put it together.
But speaking of Canada,
Yeah.
if we can pull this full circle to the podcast nature,
Yes. Yeah.
how far into Canada do elk live? Right, because we know that on the West Coast, some of them were transplanted,
Yes. Yes.
right? But how far north do the elk? Because we know that in northern Idaho, you start to get to where caribou will start to have. We used to have a a herd of caribou in the northern part of Idaho.
And there were, and I don't know the answer to your question.
I didn't figure,
No,
but I
it's
think
a great question. I know that there's a lot of archery elk content that comes out of Alberta, and I would say that most of that population is Alberta. Most of the elk population in Alaska, or sorry, in Canada, is in Alberta, and
maybe BC.
Maybe a little bit in BC. You see these guys. Those belt mountains in Alberta, though, they're so formidable. They're so big.
I've done the whole tour of those mountains through Google Earth.
You look on Google Earth and you see, well, these are the sawtooths. I've seen the sawtooths in person. I know how big they are, and I know what they look like on Google Earth.
Yeah,
they're cute.
Yeah,
they're cute. Then you look at the Bitterroots. You go, now that's a mountain range. Look at that, and you put them up next to Banff, and you're like, that's.
I've always wanted to go to Banff.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
And that Belt Mountain Group is part of that. But on the eastern slopes of the Rockies, all the way down through Colorado and New Mexico, there's elk. So I don't know how far north that goes, but in the show Letterkenny, you want to bring it full circle
to go back around,
to come back around. They always talk about Alberta beef.
Okay,
right? Oh, that's Berta beef.
All right,
it's Berta. Yeah, you know you're here when you're talking about some Alberta beef. So it is that place like Montana beef, right? When you roll through Idaho and you see alfalfa, it's in square bales, right? In Montana, they're in round bales because that food is grown to feed the livestock over the wintertime. And in Idaho, it's meant to feed livestock. Well, who knows when? Whenever they're hungry next.
Yeah.
They got to make milk, and so that industry down here is huge. I think like some trucker told me, so that's my source. Some trucker told me. Well, it was a trucker I went to church with, so there's extra credit.
I'm pretty sure.
So he goes about
Many
90% of trucks moving in and around southern Idaho are 90% of the crops grown are grown to feed cattle.
Crazy.
And I immediately take issue with that because cattle don't eat sugar beets, and I see a lot of sugar beets.
Hey, you just have to take it at face value because you don't know.
But you're right. You're right. No, I don't have to take it at face value. That seems a little off. But but to have so I like the Letterkenny. To bring it back around to elk season, whatever it is we were talking about.
Well, you started talking about food, so I didn't know if it's appropriate to talk about the food we've eaten that we're now trying to lose, or the food that we want to eat when we're out trying to hunt. So we have a fork in the conversation, if you will.
I don't know what I was talking about. Canadian
beef and all that stuff.
Canadian comedies. Beef. I don't need to talk about Canadian comedies. Other than that, I just like them. There was like another. Oh, it was Red Green. That's where we were. Red Green. He's Canadian.
Started. Yeah.
It was all Canadian. So that's where it was. Sorry.
And then I was just saying, to make it feel less of a 180 or a complete loss.
You tried to bring it around and
I'm just throwing a fork into the conversation. And so, we have a tendency to talk about the food we're trying to lose that we've already eaten.
Yeah.
Or we were going to talk about the food that we're going to gain when we're out hunting. So we just have choices. That's all.
Well, let me tell you, let's go ahead and switch gears, and let me tell you about a miserable experience I had last Friday night.
So you don't want to take either one of those options, is what you're saying.
What were the options again?
Talking about our weight loss efforts or talking about food out in the field? That's what I was saying.
Yeah, my weight loss efforts is where I'm going.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So
I'm going to talk about my workout, the CrossFit Open. My efforts in weight loss have been to enhance my physical fitness.
Yeah.
The number one thing I believe I can do to improve my elk season and my athletic performance is just lose weight. Just eat less. It's really important. And so that's part of what I'm doing. But part of how I test myself is I go to CrossFit and I work out with other guys and I go, hey, what'd you get? What's your score? Yeah, how heavy did you lift? What do you do? Right? And then I go, yeah, I did this. Yeah, I did this, we got like meatheads. We all get together and we talk about who's tougher. This is my year. I'm going to the games. I'm going to podium. You just wait. And so we had this workout come out last Thursday. There's a new workout today. Last Thursday, a workout came out, and it was burpee pull-ups Do you know what those are? Burpees. Put your chest on the ground.
Okay, I know what burpees are.
Okay.
But burpee pull-ups. That sounds like a combo.
You
that I'm
burpee,
just
you
not familiar
burpee,
with.
and instead of doing a jump at the end, you do a pull-up.
Yeah, okay. That's kind of what I thought it was.
And then it was, well, they call them sprints, but really it was like a light jog. But you had to do it for 15 minutes. It's a light jog. You got to do 10 sprints. Then you got to do 5 burpees. 10 sprints, 10 burpees. 10 sprints, 15 burpees. 10 sprints, 20 burpees. Anyway, it was sucked so bad. It was so awful. I think I had a side ache within 3 minutes of my 15-minute workout.
Interesting.
It was I know I never have side aches. Never. Why would I have a side ache? I don't know. I had a couple pizza crusts before I went to the gym.
That'll do it.
But maybe, I don't know. I really don't know. But there was another workout after that workout. So you have to do that 15 minutes. You have to go full send and try to do as much work as you can in that 15 minutes. And then you have 5 minutes to establish a 1 rep max thruster, which is from a full squat in a front rack position to full extension at the top. So then I looked at my scores. I'll put my scores up on the YouTube of this video. I'll have my scores next week, or from tomorrow, because I'm doing it.
Can you put them here? Just
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
You got to make sure you're squared off though, because there's only half you and half me. There you go.
too high.
Oh,
Too high.
Oh, okay. You're making too much work for me now.
Sorry.
So then we had to do a thruster, and I knew I was going to be fine on the thruster because that's heavy lifting. I'm great at heavy lifting as long as I don't have to work too long, right? So I got 225 pounds on my thruster, which is real solid. Everybody in the gym that beat me on my thruster, I could literally be their dad. They were
awesome.
at least 20 years younger than me, and that was the only solace I took away from that workout. But I looked at my rankings, and out of 20,000 men age 50 to 54 that signed up for the CrossFit Open, I got top 2,000, I think 1,700, top 2,000 on the first workout, top 4,000, like 3,900 or something, excuse me, on the burpee pull-ups. And on the thruster, I got top 200. So now we're averaging out, and I'm hoping tomorrow my workout is they're called wall walks.
Yeah.
And you have to walk backwards from your belly. You lay on the floor with your belly on the ground and your feet against the wall, and you walk your feet up the wall, and you touch your chest to the wall and chest to the floor, chest to the wall, chest to the floor. It's called wall walks, and they're pretty miserable. So we got that. We got double unders, which are with the jump rope, and then we have snatches, which ground to overhead in a single movement. Anyway,
You're busy at it, man.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. As much as every workout is total murder on me. You see when you have to do something. I told you last week I did a 225 pound back squat that I had to take from the ground and put it on my own back. Mm-hmm. So that's, I think, a pretty good practical application of packing an elk out.
Sure.
So, I mean, as close as you can get. It's pretty dumb. Packing an elk out. It's dumb. Anyway. And I weighed in on Monday at 258, the same as I had the week before. So
And I weighed in this morning at 257.
Okay.
And I've sustained is the important thing. But I was working through some psychological hurdles to not snack, trying to improve my portion control, trying to increase how much fruit I'll eat.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so it's not really been that bad today. I mentioned not eating much today, and I had a half an orange before we started this. But I've actually felt pretty good. Half an avocado that's packed with nutrients and deliciousness. So,
do you have any of that everything bagel shake?
We just ran out. I don't know if we have another one, but
Put some of that on an avocado.
Yeah.
Oh, have you done that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, geez.
We're out because we put it on everything.
Yeah.
I made scrambled eggs last weekend and used the rest of it. And one of the things I forgot that happens with a
salt at the bottom.
Yeah. So the eggs were a little over salted on the weekend because I'm just like, oh, there's not much in there. Yeah. Oh, I
yeah.
saw it come out and I was
Yeah.
like, ugh. And I ate it, but it was not.
I see it
great.
collecting in the bottom, and it's not like the Happy Collection, like the Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I hope the kids don't get to it before I do.
I kind of hope the opposite in this situation because
Right.
the kids use it too, so it's a pretty popular.
My last shaker of Everything Bagel, I emptied into my new shaker of Everything Bagel. So now I've got double the salt saved up at the bottom.
Nice.
I hope I don't get there.
Yeah, you could cure anything with that.
Yeah, it's really magic though. Everything Bagel's pretty good.
Yeah. We have a lot of different seasonings here that we like. I actually ground our own cayenne peppers that
really?
we grew, and I have my own cayenne pepper.
Nice.
I guess
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
you say. So,
Cayenne pepper seasoning.
yeah, it's when I look at the stuff we have from the store, it's a darker red.
Yeah.
But the stuff I have, it's got the dark reds, but it's got because of the seeds, it's got a lot of more yellows to it. So it makes me wonder, do they dye? And they probably do dye the cayenne pepper from the store somehow because it's just so much more red than mine. But I'll tell you what, if you want to have a heat test,
Yeah.
I'll kick the store's ass.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It makes me feel nice and tingly. Okay?
I put one half of a teaspoon of cayenne in this big chili pot that I make, and that's about enough for everybody. You're saying you would just. Is it more flavorful? It's hotter, but is it more flavorful?
I think it's both.
Okay.
I think
okay.
it's hotter.
It makes
and
sense that it would be
I think it's both. Yeah, because
Yeah.
just having fresh,
homegrown. Yeah.
And
Homegrown.
we grew so many freaking peppers. And what we've learned is that peppers freeze really well
Yeah.
to use later.
Yeah.
And so the cayenne peppers, they dry out. So they're just in a container, and I just got to continue grinding them. And you want to be careful and don't breathe in the dust. It's bad. but it's really, really fun. I think we're out of our jalapenos already.
Wow.
We went through them that quick. So, yeah.
Good deal.
I love
Good
growing
deal.
peppers. But yeah, my weight has sustained, and I haven't seen the large fluctuations like I haven't. So I'm optimistic in the next week I'm on the downward trend again.
Okay.
Is my goal.
Right.
But it's hard
Yeah.
because my body wants food. But
All
I'm
the
not
time.
starving. I don't
Right.
feel hungry.
Right.
I just got to watch the snacking. So,
Yeah.
and I went to the doctor this morning, but I got locked out of my doctor, what do you call it, the app or whatever that
Okay, yeah.
and I can't,
All your medical
report.
files.
Yeah, I can't report on my cholesterol because I screwed that up too many times. But anyway, but I the one thing that my doctor reinforced, something that I've talked about quite a bit on this podcast, I got to move more.
Yeah.
I got to figure out something
Yeah.
that works for me where I can move more.
Yeah. Something every day.
Yeah.
Something every day. You just got to go every day. And when it's hard to do CrossFit once or twice a week, because then you're really, really sore the other 4 or 5 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not working out, then I can't work out at all because it would just it's almost too painful. Because you get in there, you get into the gym, you can do the activities, and you think, oh, I'm gonna full send this. I'm feeling good. And you just get wrecked. So it's something I definitely had to commit to 5 days a week of. And now I'm looking very serious. In fact, this week on Craigslist here in Twin Falls, I bought one of those cool bikes that attaches to the back of another bike for my son.
Oh yeah.
So he doesn't quite ride without training wheels yet.
I forgot. I still have the other bike that I was
know,
pass off to you. We just keep forgetting.
Oh yeah, well I'll take it. We've got a pile of stuff. Pile of bikes.
Yeah.
And as long as he wants to ride something and get him out, just get him out and get him active. And it's a lot of work. I don't know, when my wife goes for a bike ride, she wants to, I don't know, feel the wind and see the sights.
Okay.
And I'm like, I want to work. I'm like, that's what a bicycle's for. It's so fun. Let's go faster. Let's see how hard we can push it. So it's hard to do that with kids and with the wife. So I like to really push myself when I ride bikes.
I take the kids out all the time, so we do pretty good on the trail.
And we're looking at some nice weather coming.
Yeah.
Eventually, I don't know. No elk season podcast for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm going to Mexico.
See.
And then I'll be back from Mexico.
See.
That's all.
Bueno.
Buena
suerte.
Then the week after that I'll be back, and it'll be St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think actually we get back on the 17th.
Yeah.
So we'll see that, we want to get a big update on what the water situation is out west. There are some really, really big storms in California right now.
Yeah.
Last night.
I have a podcaster, not a podcaster, a YouTube channel. I follow a guy from California, and he was posting it was basically yesterday afternoon. I saw that he posted it at like 7:30 in the morning, and he was going out of his house and showing how it's so bad where he's at, and he's got a little trail out to the road.
Was it Tahoe?
No, it was. It's just southwest of Tahoe. Though.
Okay.
I mean, it's in the storm's path.
Okay,
all of
the
it
Sierra
is.
Nevadas.
Yeah. He's by Lake Oroville. And that's where
yes.
he lives in that area.
Yeah. And so the same storms that hit Lake Oroville
Are headed.
are, in 2017 that caused the floods at Lake Oroville in 2017 were the same ones that caused snowpocalypse here in southern Idaho in 2017.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to see how much.
There was an avalanche up in Ketchum.
Oh, really?
On Warm Springs Road that leads to the ski lodge. The ski lodge that I worked at in high school for like a week, and I tried to get fired from. I'm sorry. Clearly, I wasn't ready for work yet.
Yeah.
But it was cool, and that lodge burned down. I was sad. So the lodge that I worked in burned down several years ago, and they rebuilt it. But it was closed down I think today or yesterday.
Yeah.
Because they had just I can't remember what it was. They described it, but it closed off the road. Luckily, I don't think anybody was hurt. But
it's big, steep country.
Yeah.
And we've been watching the snow ever since November.
Yeah.
Just really, because it was a bad year.
Yeah.
It was a bad year for the Colorado.
Yeah.
For the Rocky Mountains and the Colorado. And the Colorado has tributaries in Wyoming, as does the Missouri and the Columbia, the Snake.
It makes me wonder how, and this is where being a geologist would help me, and maybe you know the answer to this. So when you have masses that have moisture content that go dry for too long and then are suddenly hit with moisture, could that increase the likelihood of runoff or erosion when the moisture is reintroduced to that?
That's a good question, and there's a lot of other, I think, deciding factors in like
because
is the water running
right? Well, you saturate ground that had vegetation that all died, so the roots might be in place and they could hold a little bit, but they're no longer living, so they're not going to really hold true.
Right.
So I don't know.
But is the water moving? So were the plants on a flat place like the bottom of a lake?
Well,
right.
But I guess what I'm saying is like hillsides that are going to soak up this water as it starts to melt off.
Yeah.
The water will start moving on the surface, but it will start soaking, and that soaking will start causing the possibility of what would you
most definitely.
Landslides.
Oh yeah,
right? So
most definitely.
I just
most
perceive
definitely.
that all of this snow hitting
it has
going
an
to
effect,
increase landslides, plus all the fires and all that. So
it has an effect, and it's going to depend on the rocks and the rock density and the plants and the plant density and the steepness of the terrain.
And it's a changing landscape. I'm just saying there's going to be a lot of stories of that.
And the layers underneath. So what you worry about is you have like layers like up on Elk Ridge where we've watched 1.5 feet of snow soak in.
Yeah.
And by the end of the day, you can grab a handful of dry dirt off the ground. Yeah. It's bizarre almost. So you think, well, we have this end of the spectrum. What's the other end of the spectrum? Is something that you just look at wrong, and it's so sticky, muddy forever.
Yeah.
You know, like the dirt around here.
Yeah.
It's just like it's so thin. It's clay almost.
Yeah.
And so and you have this whole spectrum of how that's going to work. So, and if you have a layer of clay underneath that, and it's not going to soak in easy to that layer of clay, then it can start to build up on that layer of clay like a water slide. Yeah. And just
move stuff around,
move off. Yeah.
I mean, you think about what happened with that freak storm where we hunted.
Yeah.
Or last year.
I saw a video us walking up to that.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll put that on the YouTube.
Yeah.
Man, it's impressive. The video's cool because you kind of get a look at how deep it is.
Yeah, my before and after were okay, but there wasn't a lot for perspective, unfortunately. Yeah. So I recognize that. If you saw that, sorry.
It had perspective for me.
Yeah. Speaking of being out there, Something that you brought up just before that's kind of part of our focal point today is
Yeah.
food in the field.
Yeah.
Food in the field.
Yeah.
Preferences.
Yeah.
I think there's pros and cons to all of it, but there's a lot more cons, in my humble opinion,
Yeah.
to certain aspects of food that you could take with you.
Yeah.
And that's a majority of freeze-dried has more cons than pros to me.
Yeah. The freeze-dried food pouches. So freeze-dried meal pouches. I don't even want to say food pouches because I like freeze-dried food. I like
True.
freeze-dried potatoes.
Freeze-dried meal. So
Yeah.
I haven't really come across a freeze-dried meal that really says, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah.
I think one of our early experiences, and we maybe talked about this before, we had a freeze-dried meal package, and I can't remember where we were at. Maybe we were in the Boise area hunting mule deer, but it was scrambled eggs or something.
Yeah.
And it was the grossest thing ever. And so, so you talked to, talk a little bit about this TikTok.
I should have showed you my TikToks. I should have showed you my TikToks before we started.
But you mentioned them. So kind of fill in whoever's listening about these TikToks, what you did and what sparked the idea to have this conversation today.
Well, so boy, that's a lot of loaded questions there. I was up. This is the day before I shot my elk. It was my third weekend in. It's a Friday. I'm making lunch. I'm making potatoes for lunch. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to set up my tripod. I'm just going to record and see how long it takes versus how long it would take a freeze-dried meal pouch. And if you look at the directions on the freeze-dried meal pouch, it says pour in 2 cups of boiling water, wait 15 minutes. Sometimes it's 10, but if it says 10, you wait 15.
Yeah.
If it says 15, you wait 20. You just do. And there's sometimes they can be inconsistent. The rehydrating meat is different than rehydrating fat. And sometimes the meat and the fat are together like they are in a beautiful Spam single. Sometimes you have vegetables. Peas and corn are freeze-dried. But if one of them floats to the top and doesn't get all the way soaked, saturated, well, you've got crunchy peas now. All right. So you go to take a bite and you think, oh, I'm eating mashed potatoes with peas and carrots. First of all, if you really want that kind of nutrition, if you really think peas and carrots are important to your nutrition, just bring a supplement. Just bring some vitamins.
Yeah.
There's nothing left in those peas and carrots in a freeze-dried food pouch, in a freeze-dried meal pouch. I don't think there's enough in there to say, oh, I'm eating healthy.
Now, there's going to be plenty of people out there that are like, you just don't get it.
Yeah.
These are the best ever.
Yeah.
You should back off, man.
Yeah.
These are really good. I'm never going to do what you do because I'm smarter.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so...
Yeah, and you see the comments, and everybody that does it different is definitely smarter than me. They'll let you know.
Okay. Good clarification. there.
Well, and somebody asked, is that meat freeze-dried? I go, no, I brought already cooked, pre-cooked pork carnitas from a supermarket. Which, if you weigh it, I have 2 meal pouches at home, and I'll make this video this week, but the 2 meal pouches have somewhere in the vicinity of 500 to 700 calories, not 1,500. I'm sorry.
Okay.
500 to 700 calories, right? I think it's like 200 to 300, give or take 50. 250 to 350 per serving with 2 servings per pouch. We all know as men, that's my food pouch. I'm eating both servings.
Yes.
Right? Are you going to eat that is the second question you ask. After you ask your wife, will you marry me? Then you say, are you going to eat that? That's really the only follow-up question you have.
That's true.
If you really want a dad joke. We got a dad joke coming up, right? About a dentist?
Yeah, I think so. But
it doesn't have anything to do with the tooth I call Old Yeller, does it? Okay.
It might. So, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
Context is so important here. So this is what's so amazing about the internet and the world in general.
Yeah.
We're going to provide a context here, and I'm going to sort of frame this in a certain way. But if somebody were to happen upon our podcast and listen to this episode, it wouldn't matter that I said this because they're still going to hear things that we have to say about it, and it's going to make them forget that I said, hey, what you do is you, man. You do you.
Yeah.
This is what we do, and we have an opinion that we're fairly confident with, and so do you. And you know what? That's great.
Yeah.
Because if you want freeze-dried stuff, go for it. I'm not really into it. I can do the mashed potatoes, but not mashed potatoes in a freeze-dried meal.
Yeah.
Freeze-dried mashed potatoes in the pouch in the different flavors,
Yeah.
but they're going to be mixed with other stuff that is not freeze-dried because it tastes better.
Yeah.
And it feels better. And it gives me a better sense of home, comfort in the field.
Yeah.
It's just
The creature comforts
better.
in the deep woods are really hard to come by.
Well, what if, hold on, you're going to get stuck in the woods one time and you're going to run out of food or it's going to spoil and you're not going to have anything and you should have freeze dried and you're going to be like, I should have listened to those guys on the internet.
Okay.
If I can play devil's advocate.
Okay. Yeah, please do. Yeah. When that happens, I owe you a Coke. I mean, what do you, I don't know what to say about that. You could easily run out of freeze dried, maybe your jet boil doesn't work.
Yeah.
What are you going to do then, cowboy? You
I'm
going to build a fire?
I'm going to chew on my freeze dried stuff.
Yeah. And so one of the comparisons I make, and I just left, it was the same phone, the same tripod, just recording me just like that, making potatoes.
Yeah.
All I did was I took the pork carnitas, I put it in a Ziploc.
Yeah.
Pork carnitas is already cooked. It's already at room temperature or outside temperature, whatever that is. When the water's done boiling, I just put in the water. Now the meat gets hot. Sometimes at night, I will take the pork carnitas and put it in a pan and boil the water with the meat, and it pulls a lot of the fat out.
Yeah.
And it helps the potatoes.
I found a product at Fred Meyer.
Yeah.
It just dawned on me. It comes in a sealed pouch and it's kind of packable, but it's raw meat. And it's for tacos al pastor.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it's pork.
Okay.
And it's amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you'd have to cook the whole pouch when you cook it. But dude, we made some tacos with this stuff recently, and it just hit me. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about your process you're describing. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I could have tacos al pastor in the field, and it's
Yeah.
not freeze dried.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's a little bit of water weight.
So here's the thing. I took a freeze-dried meal pouch, which is a nice Mylar bag,
Yeah.
right? Or whatever that is. That isn't Mylar. I don't even know what Mylar
It's a bag.
is. Mylar's a cool word. That sound cool if I could say the word Mylar. Anyways,
My large bag.
Mylar. So you have the really nice pouch, and it does take up a little bit of space. There is some air in that pouch.
Yeah.
Now you can unzip it and you can, and make sure this is what you have to, this is what sucks. You got to make sure before you put your 2 cups of boiling water to get the moisture absorption packet out of your freeze-dried
Yeah.
food.
Yeah.
It's always a bummer. It's always a bummer when you stick your spoon in there and you're like, oh, this is going to be, oh, God, I forgot to take that out of there.
Yeah.
But I took the potatoes. I took a piece of Spam, which is like 230 calories. It's not a lot of protein. It's like 11 grams. It's not very much. But there's lots of fat in it. And to put that in with your potatoes is really well too. But so if you just weighed a Spam single, which is 230 calories, and you took these potatoes, which is 440 calories, now you've got 600 calories, as much as in a freeze-dried meal pouch. Right? The meal pouch cost you $14.
Yeah.
But a Spam single and a pack of potatoes is going to cost you $3 tops.
So it's more economical, sounds like.
By a lot, not just a little bit.
Wait a Spam single.
And guess what? On the scale, the Spam single and the potatoes weigh less than a freeze-dried meal pouch with more calories. So talk to me about weight. Go ahead, but do your math first, buddy. Because I've done the math.
Yes.
Because I've done the math. I have, and I've weighed it. And I go, that's
ultimately
none of what they say makes sense to me.
I'm not against trying new stuff. And we had a recommendation to try the what was it, the biscuits and gravy
Yeah.
from Jared.
I know,
but consider the source, I guess, kind of situation. But at the same time, I want to try them.
Yeah.
And I actually went to buy a pouch, but I couldn't find a price tag on there for that specific pouch. We're at the store, and I was just kind of in a hurry, so I'm like, I don't see a price right away, so it wasn't convenient for me, so I left without them, because I was going to make them, I think, here on the podcast.
Oh, really?
And
why not?
And we just need to go get a pouch and try it, because it was a recommendation.
Yeah.
You want to recommend something, but if we've tried it, not really that interested in it.
There are some combinations out there that look really good. There's like a chicken fajita
Yeah.
that's like you got the sauce, you got chicken, you got peppers.
I thought that I had seen a company doing something along the lines that we would be into.
Yeah.
And I thought I saw that at D&B.
Okay.
Because it had some stuff that, yes, like potatoes you'd have to add water to and some of the vegetable stuff. But there were pouches of meat that were not freeze-dried that were sealed in the
that's
bag.
the way to do it.
But I went
if I was
back-
going to make my own, that's
Yeah.
how I would do it.
And I went back to see if they had them. Nowhere.
Oh,
They were
really?
gone.
Yeah.
So I don't know if so now my memory is like, did I actually see those? Because I came back here and I was like, dude, I saw this at D&B back in the day.
I've thought to myself for years, if I was going to make my own, I would seal the meat separately.
Yeah.
You open it up, you heat this stuff, and then you put the meat in afterwards because the fat and protein does not rehydrate like the starches do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a big thing, and a lot of people are really sensitive about food. When I posted the video, I told you I made some jokes. I posted 2 videos, and both of them, I'm talking heavy duty crap on freeze dried meal pouches. And the first time I ever had a video go crazy on TikTok, it was me saying the sure way to know an amateur in the field is freeze dried food pouches. That amateur. You even been outdoors? You even know how to cook, son? Anyways, I see those meal pouches and I'm just like, wow, you gave up early.
My focus is on killing the elk. Okay.
Right.
Because now you've got me cornered, and
Yeah.
that's, you know what? How many elk you kill?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
How many? Now I'm puffing my chest out.
Yeah.
I haven't killed any.
So and those are fair questions. Those are fair. Oh yeah, we're about hunting. That is so great. If that is your thing, you don't care about food, you care about hunting. Good. I care about the experience.
Yeah.
Elk season is not about elk killing.
I mean,
it's not even about elk hunting.
I don't want to speak for the guys that you worked with when you got your bull last year, but
Yeah.
I would imagine that those kinds of scenarios, when they happen, that's a memory.
Oh,
I ran into a guy who made me this quesadilla out in the field.
no doubt. No doubt. If you ever had a quesadilla of mine in the backcountry, you would.
You know how
remember it.
hesitant I was, and I finally broke down. I came around because I realized I can't be so hard nosed, because it's almost like this mentality you start to adopt, like you can only do food one way
Right,
if you're
right,
backpacking,
right,
and that's
right.
so not true.
Right. And to think all I have to do is scale things down.
Yeah,
I have a stove, I have a mess kit, and I've had my stove and mess kit forever.
yeah.
I love camping. I've wanted to go camping my entire life. Growing up in Montana, you look out every window and you're like, I want to go camping there. I want to go camping there. I want to go camping there. That'd be a good place to go camping. Hey, have you ever camped back there? That would be fun. And so when I was in the Boy Scouts, if I was going to go camping, it had to be with the Boy Scouts. And in fact, I know my mom got me to church at least 100 times by telling me, at the end of church, the Scouts are going to get together and talk about camping.
Oh,
Fine, I'll go to church. Right? That's all it took. I mean, mom used that a lot on me because she knew what I was motivated by. On one of my birthdays, I think I was 12 or 13, I got my first aluminum frame backpacking backpack.
cool.
And I got to use it that summer to go on my very first backpacking trip into the crazy mountains, which were too covered in snow on the 4th of July that we had to turn around and hike back out, get in the cars, and find a new place to backpack to.
Oh man.
And we went to another place in the Big Belt Mountains on the backside of Canyon Ferry. But when you're in the Scouts, they show you, hey, this is what we do. We have a mess kit. You have a fry pan. You have another pan. You have this pan. You have a cup. You can do all these things. And so from my early days of the Scouts, I'm like, well, yeah, I can do all those things. I could be lazy and get these freeze-dried food pouches, freeze-dried meal pouches. And as soon as I had enough, and I know I told you this before, as soon as I had enough money to afford nothing but freeze-dried meal pouches, I did it. And I'm like, yeah, there's $150 on food. And it was just an awful, awful experience. My whole hunting weekend was just basically shoveling in the same goo.
Ugh.
I know. It was terrible.
Sweet.
Terrible.
Sweet gruel.
And from then on, I'm like, wow. I always thought like just having a little bit of money. You think money's going to improve your situation, make it so much better. Oh, I got a little bit of money. I can go ahead and buy some of these freeze-dried meal pouches. No, it was so much better to have my own.
I find it more
menu.
rewarding to be creative with what I might eat. So I can go down and I'm always on the prowl for a product that I might be able to backpack with that is not freeze dried. That's why I brought up that al pastor stuff, because I'm like, yeah, it's a bit big, but if you and I were out in the field, do you cook that up, split that up? It actually it looks small, but I swear it made it. We had dinner for like 3 nights with this pouch, and
Really?
it was $5.
What is this? What are you talking about?
It's that meat, that pork meat, tacos al pastor.
Yeah.
And so when I come across stuff like that,
Yeah.
you've gotten random texts from me.
Yes.
When I come out, I'll just be like, dude,
Look what I found.
Yeah,
When
when
I
I-
know immediately, I'm taking that hunting.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually got so gung ho about a product I found that I bought so much of it that I didn't go through that I eventually had to start throwing it away because I had it go bad. So, but well, you wouldn't have that problem with freeze dried. Well, shut up! I wouldn't have bought the freeze dried to have it go back. Well, freeze dried has an expiration date. It's not going to last forever either.
Yeah, it does.
Look
but
at me get all defensive.
And when I say about freeze dried food, really, that's apocalypse stuff. That's stuff you need if society shuts down. That really is like I need food for 3 years. I'm leaving the safety of a supermarket for a weekend, even if it's for a whole week.
Yeah.
Right? The food's not going to spoil. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
And like I said before, the same calories and less weight, and it took up less room in my pack.
Yeah, the air in those pouches, man. That was one thing that was always a bummer.
Yeah.
So
So there's that. And gosh, I thought I had something else. You look like you have something.
no, I don't. I was just trying to
Oh.
decide what it is that because we talked about the Clovis stuff. We talked about the bear.
So
bear,
I have a couple stories. I had an opportunity. Oh geez, we're 40 minutes in, aren't we?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I told you we wouldn't have a problem.
I never do.
I hope we have
never
time
do.
for that dad joke.
I'm that one teacher. Just raise your hand and ask him a random question. Trust me, we won't have to do any schoolwork today. I'm that guy. So I came across a couple of really, really fascinating stories. There's a picture of the trapper, right? It's called Tales of the Mountain Men.
It says the adventures.
The
of
Adventures.
The Mountain Man.
The Adventures of the Mountain Men. And it's from many different. And in fact, they even cover John Coulter's run.
Okay,
You remember John Coulter?
remind me.
Coulter's hell. John Coulter was one of the... I read an entire biography of John Coulter, but then in this book, they talk a little bit about John Coulter. John Coulter was part of the Corps of Discovery in the Lewis Clark expedition.
Okay.
He was like the fourth or fifth member in, and he's the guy who after 2.5 years, he's like, well, we're getting kind of close to St. Louis. I really miss the wilderness. I want to go back.
That's cool.
Before you even get home, he was hardcore.
I think he had a woman he didn't want to go home to.
So...
He forgot to take the trash out before he left. He didn't want to
Oh
hear it.
man, they never hear the end of it. So there was this book goes into many different stories. Like I said, it covered John Coulter, but it also covered another trapper's journal. And one of the stories he wrote in the journal is he described the beaver and some of their habits and some interesting things that they do. And he described wolves and bison and mule deer, but he got to elk. And he says, elk. He goes, there's not a whole lot I can add on this subject, but one of the things that the Native Americans do, what I've seen the Native Americans hunt, is that when they herd up in the wintertime, if you can keep them in a herd and run them, it will kill them. It will tire them out. An elk alone can run for miles and miles, but an elk in a herd keeps bumping into things, and it takes so much energy.
Wow.
That if you can run them in a herd, eventually even the biggest and strongest will just stop where they are and lay down, and you can literally walk up and kill them with a knife.
Wow.
It's called persistence hunting.
Okay.
But I knew that you could persistence hunt elk, and I've seen it on Nova. I've seen persistence hunting on
Yeah.
Nova, current day in
Yeah.
Africa, persistence hunting, and they've talked about doing it out west. And I've never seen any examples.
Yeah, that's an interesting
How
example.
one single human, or even three of us, can you imagine you, me, at the best shape of our life, and we're triangulating, working on some elk? That's not happening. Even the wolves. I wonder if that's part of the wolf strategy.
Yeah.
Is to find out, is to kind of keep them in a group, but and the elk know to split,
Yeah.
to split away.
Yeah.
And elk know, and they would be like, because the Native Americans had this understanding of, okay, we're going to work this, but we're going to work these elk into this area, but remember, don't get behind them. If you get behind them, that's when they split up.
Yeah.
You got to come in from the side. Anyways, it was very interesting.
Wow.
And then another story the same guy tells is becoming the son-in-law of a chief of the Blackfoot tribe. And the Blackfoot tribe was incredibly fearsome. And they had troubles, sometimes they were at peace with the Flatheads, sometimes they were at peace with the Crows, but sometimes, they warred with them. And as a trapper out west, you wanted some layer of protection. So this guy goes into this village of Blackfeet, and he ends up knowing enough of the Blackfeet language that the chief really likes him. And he says, and Blackfeet were, and all the different tribes had different customs. And one of the strange things that this guy talks about was the customs of smoking the pipe. Oh, you never smoke around dogs. You never smoke around women. When you pass the pipe, you got to turn it 3 times. When you load the pipe, you do this. There were so many customs around the peace pipe. It was nuts. And some of them, when he talked about different tribes, this tribe over here, they don't prostitute their women, right? That one man and one woman. But the Blackfeet's like, they prostitute all the time, but you can't. The women don't leave the tribe, right? You can come and get married to them, but if you decide to leave, then you got to divorce them. It's basically that. So he gets there, and this chief, really likes him and says, "I have a daughter for you." Out of his own interest, he says, "Yeah, that would guarantee me protection."
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And that would give me a lot of help, because out west, there's a lot of work to be done, and the women did 90% of the labor. And so it was just advantageous. Jeremiah Johnson did the same thing. He was like, "Man, you need a woman out here to get work done," because they just did so much work. So now he has, and he says, he says, "Well, if I ever have to divorce her, that's fine. I'll just leave." But it was interesting, because there were some people in the Blackfoot tribe that found some white people and killed and scalped them.
Yeah.
And then brought the scalps back. And this guy knew those were probably my friends.
Yeah.
I was probably just with those guys. And they're going to do what's called a scalp dance.
Okay.
And it's a big deal. These guys, it's so much coup. They've just done so much to defend their land. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And the scalp dance is a big deal. And his wife says, "I want to go to the scalp dance." And he says, "No, I absolutely forbid you to go to the scalp dance. You respect me, you respect your husband, you respect my feelings, you do not go to the scalp dance." A couple of other white guys said, "We want to go and watch the scalp dance." So they go to watch the scalp dance. So this guy who's lost his friend, who told his wife no, he goes and he sees the guy watching the scalp dance, and he goes, "Shame on you for even watching this." And they go, "What are you talking about us? Your wife is the best dancer down here." He's like, "My wife went to the scalp dance after I told her not to, and she's the chief's daughter." He was so irate. He walked into the middle of the scalp dance with his axe and blunt force trauma her in the head with it, knocked her dead with a single stroke, and dragged her from the scalp dance.
Wow.
Goes into his law, and I mean, he's like, the scalp dance is like stopped. You don't stop a scalp dance for anything. They were just beside themselves with what to do. And he's like, he goes back to his lodge. He's got these other white guys that are with him. He's like, I don't know what we're going to do, boys. We're going to have to fight our way out. It's going to be pretty tough. And then you could hear outside the lodge, all these other natives were like, yeah, let's kill him. Let's kill him. Let's kill him. And the chief steps in and he says, you know what? This guy did exactly what any one of you would have done if your wife disobeyed you. He lost a daughter.
Yeah.
And he said, listen, your wife disobeys you. And that chief dispersed the crowd. Anyways, that was a fantastic and crazy interesting story I came across in this book, Adventures of the Mountain Men.
Yeah, that's
Isn't that crazy?
It makes me wonder if is it real stories?
Yes.
Okay. So
yes.
It makes me wonder if any of these folks ran across Andrew Garcia, that manuscript from Tough Trip Through Paradise.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know.
Because his wife was not Blackfoot, but he traded for her from the Blackfeet.
Yeah.
Because she was Nez Perce.
Yeah.
But she was sort of not captive, but she was handed off to them because she was injured in their escape from the Big Hole Valley.
Oh, wow.
And so
that's right, yeah.
And so her father was ultimately killed in that battle, but it was a horrible story. So they go to the Big Hole and they're like, you know what? They're kind of reestablishing. They didn't really expect to be chased the way they were. Excuse me. Nice. Not in the microphone this time.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you. And so anyway, so they were going to try to negotiate and just say, hey, this is where we're at. Like, let's be done or something like that. There's more to it, so I don't mean to minimize the horror of that whole story. But anyway, she got hit in the face with the butt of a rifle trying to get out of her teepee on that day. And so she gets her dad gets her out of there, and her dad gets a fatal shot on the way out. And so they actually took a bunch of the dead bodies that they did have with them, and they took them up a valley and buried them in a place in a way that hopefully the white men wouldn't find.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want the white men to desecrate the body and shame their people. So Andrew Garcia learns of this girl that's always showing up to trade with him because he's this trapper in the Muscle Shell Wilderness.
Yeah.
And there's this girl that's always being harassed by the Blackfeet women. And he's like, who is that? And he learns that it's this girl and what her story is. And he falls in love with her. He just really likes her. And so he's eventually able to say, hey, somehow he's able to trade, and then they get married. But and then he takes her and her young child memory,
Yeah.
it was able to help navigate to find the resting place of her dad. So it was a crazy story. And then her death though was brutal, but it wasn't not quite as well. Her death was pretty brutal, like what you described.
Yeah.
She was bludgeoned in the face by a Flathead Indian.
Oh yeah.
But it wasn't because she disobeyed her husband.
Right.
He wasn't quite that kind of guy. But anyway, just crazy stories from the West.
I love, and I will tell more. I will tell more stories on TikTok, short stories like this one here.
Yeah.
Because I have read dozens and dozens of books of trappers and stuff out west, and I just love it. And I have a pretty good
that period of
library.
time after the Civil War and around the end of the Native wars with the states.
Yeah.
That period of time before the turn of the century where it was just this raw country.
Yeah.
Of just people kind of coming out and going west, and it was kind of this cesspool of stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's fascinating. The amount.
Maybe cesspool is the wrong term there. There was a lot of crazy stuff. Is all I mean by that.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's all interesting. I like that kind of history. I like the Old West history, and I just read a ton of books. And
76 to 1900. It's just an interesting time for me. So after the Battle of the Big Hole, which was the last major war. So what else? What other image did you have in here?
And then I had one that was those are my two stories from that book this week anyway.
Right.
Oh, there was another one. 2 more elk dead in the Magic Valley. From the Magic Valley fishing game. I think it might have been the
about
U's.
Dead elk on. Yeah, those.
The U plant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just more of that.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Yeah. So if we can, we'll just segue to that one article that I did come across.
Okay.
I got an email from Fish and Game, their newsletter that comes out.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to reiterate something from there. I didn't read the whole thing. I just have the blurb here, but I didn't realize that with the situation of chronic wasting disease that we've seen in northern Idaho, that they're actually working to actively remove deer species, elk and deer, in Idaho. And so they're actively culling deer and elk, removing them, killing them.
Really?
Yes. So
Really? Why?
Fish and Game.
Okay.
I know there's a why. And
Good.
Fish and Game deer removal project in Slate Creek finds 14 cases of CWD.
Okay.
So
Slate Creek. Any idea where that is?
It's up north.
Okay.
But Idaho Fish and Game staff, I'll just read this blurb here, reported that through February 27th. So I don't know if that's from the beginning of the year through February 27th. I think that might be. And it would make sense that it would be, because deer and elk are pushed to places where it's probably easy to access them.
Yeah.
251 deer and 1 elk have been killed and removed from Slate Creek drainage in an effort to slow the spread of CWD. All deer and elk taken are tested. Out of the 92 test results so far, so they haven't gotten all their test results back,
Oh, yeah.
14 deer have tested positive.
Okay.
So 15% of the deer in that area are infected. So by culling the deer and doing this, they're not going to kill all of them, but they're going to remove a bunch.
Get a good data set.
And you start to run statistics. So it's just kind of like, huh.
Okay.
But if it's 15% and it's highly contagious, it's clearly there. I really hope they can figure out the transmission rate and what exactly how it does this. So I think the hypothesis right now is it's through feces on the ground as deer migrate through and they brush their nose up against feces that a deer left while they're nibbling on some grass somewhere. I think is one of the.
I had an interesting encounter last Friday night at the gym during the big open. One of the guys I talk elk hunting with, he lives along Rock Creek, and he goes down and he fly fishes in Rock Creek, and he caught a brown and a rainbow.
Cool.
And he showed me his pictures, but he goes, look at these fish. There's holes in them. There's like holes in their spine, like behind their head and by their gill plate. And he goes, do you have any idea what that is? I go, you should talk to Jim. Jim is a fish pathologist. He's one of the guys that goes to the gym. I go, it's a bummer because he's never in here on Friday nights because his family lives up north. And so he goes up on weekends, or like every other weekend he comes up. And like 10 minutes later, I look over, I go, oh my gosh, there's Jim. No kidding.
Wow.
Some guy asked me a fish pathology question. 10 minutes later, I look over, there's a fish pathologist. I go, Jim, come here. And so he says it was predation.
Okay.
I was thinking Rock Creek. I'm thinking there's some disease.
Yeah.
Right. It's pretty nasty. There's a lot of stuff there.
That's where my brain went. I'll be honest.
Right. Yeah. But he says it's probably predation. A hawk or something will get a hold of them, and now you have an opening for a pathogen.
Yeah.
So there could be a pathogen, but it's from predation.
Yeah.
Anyways, interesting encounter.
Yeah.
That was
pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah. Stuff that everyday life.
So you're saying that one of the ways to keep an open mind about how this is spread, it could be through predators in terms of CWD?
No. Did I say that?
No, I just wondered if you were making that analogy or just sharing a story. But I also see that,
I wanted to talk about pathology because we were talking about diseases. And so it just reminded me of this fish pathologist I know and what happened last Friday night. But
because the only reason why I bring that up, because we did talk about a different pathogen. It's a bacteria that gets into the wolf species apparently and causes them to become alpha males, right? So, and that's
is a contributing factor,
right?
To the alpha, yeah.
Anyway, so this dad. Oh crap! We're like 3 minutes over. No dad joke.
No, you're fine.
Anyway,
we're not. We've talked for 5 minutes before. It doesn't matter.
You're not playing the hand of just letting it hang.
Sorry. You're right. We're out of time.
Yeah. Anyway.
No dad joke today. No, wait. You know what? We got time. Let's spend 10 minutes talking about how we don't have time to tell a dad joke.
Well, I had a doctor's appointment this morning.
Okay.
But I have a dentist appointment tomorrow.
Oh, lucky you.
At 2:30.
Okay. No, you don't.
At 2:30.
You do not.
At 2:30.
Do you really at 2:30?
2:30.
Okay, Donnie, I got it. I know what 2:30 means. I also know what time a 2:30 is.
Anyway.
Wow. No, explain it to me. It's only funny if you...
Tooth hurdy.
Good
Anyway.
times. Okay. There...
I don't even know where to go now.
I'll tell you where. I can tell you about 2:30. Okay. Because we made our first attempt at the Twinkie Wiener sandwich.
Yeah. Oh, that's
2 or 3 days after I had a root canal.
Yeah.
And I still have that video. I don't know if I'll be able to show any. But me chewing on a Twinkie Wiener sandwich.
Coincidentally.
Oh, it hurts so bad.
Coincidentally, because I actually said we're 5 minutes over, not 5 minutes away. So we're actually overtime. But actually, we had time where we were... Never mind. So let me... Shut up, David. I'm talking to myself in third person. Your Twinkie Wiener sandwich was proximal to the place where we were trying to get on these elk in that tree stand, or that stand of trees. Yeah. Just on that south side. Uh-huh. And I had that cow and her 2 calves come within 20 yards. But I was... Rookie mistake, even though I'm not a rookie, I had put my bow down across from me, thinking that we had lost our opportunity, and I had them there for about 5 minutes, but I could not move, and they were just standing there, and I was sitting there, and they're 20 yards from me. I could have had this big cow.
Heartbreaking.
Anyway, that was right there, pretty much where you did the Twinkie Wiener sandwich.
I remember.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we have different memories of that. Mine is 2:30. And yours is
different memories of that area. Those were two different days.
Yeah.
But
were they 2 different years? They might have been 2 different years.
Yeah. So
that's all right. All right. Well, have a great few weeks.
Yeah,
we'll be back.
You're welcome.
We'll be back in 3 weeks. You're welcome for the break. But we'll get you caught up on the water and all the antlers. It is shed season, boys. Get out there, have some fun.
Cheers.
Goodbye.